Hello everyone, this is Yoko. On this channel, I feel that information about what is happening in China is often not correctly conveyed to countries other than China, so I will be disseminating the information I have gathered in English. I'm getting information from multiple media, so I'd be happy if you could comment on the content of the video. Also, my native language is not English, so I use an AI speaker to create the voice to convey the information correctly. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel and support us. This time, I would like to tell you about the fact that a company called Didi is in a cumulative deficit of 110 billion yuan. A search on the internet yields several articles on this subject. But when I click on the article link, I can't see it as it has already been deleted. However, some of the articles were saved on the search site, so I was able to read some of them. I think it is the first phase from 2018 to 2023, but it seems that the cumulative deficit during this period is about 110 billion yuan. As of March 31st, cash-like assets have decreased by more than 40% compared to the fourth quarter of the previous year. If you don't get a big loan, you'll run out of cash, and you won't be able to make all the payments, and you'll be insolvent. It's getting to the point that a monstrous debt monster is about to be born. This information was subject to censorship shortly after it was announced. In other words, the Chinese authorities think that it is bad if this story spreads. Didi pulled out of the New York Stock Exchange, but its largest shareholder at the time was SoftBank Group's Vision Fund. And since we were doing business together with Toyota, if Didi cannot continue doing business, there is a possibility that Japanese companies will also suffer losses. This is a very big problem for the Chinese economy, and considering the current situation in China, it is also a big problem for the Communist Party. This company called Didi has been attracting attention for several years, but I'm sure there are people who don't know about it, so I'll explain the history so far. Didi operates a platform business for ride-hailing services and food delivery in China. We listed our shares on the New York Stock Exchange on June 30, 2021. To be exact. The company was listed on the U.S. market and started raising funds, but the largest shareholder at the time was the SoftBank Group. The SoftBank Group was doing great with the gains on the stock listing, but on July 2, immediately after that, the Chinese authorities announced that they would begin security reviews of Didi. On July 4, downloads of apps related to Didi were banned, and new users were banned from using them. It is said that the reason for the restriction is information security or personal information protection, but that is the official reason. The truth is that Xi Jinping opposes the listing of Chinese IT companies in the United States. Chinese IT companies possess a large amount of personal information of Chinese people. I don't want foreign companies to get involved with companies that hold such large amounts of personal information. Didi's business is a big reason for that. A Chinese takes a taxi from point A to point B, and pays through an app. Records are kept of when, who, and from where to where the taxi was used. Individual records have no value, but companies collect information, including user attributes. For example, by analyzing the data, it becomes clear that civil servants belonging to important sectors in China gather in the same place one day. Civil servant A who works for a certain government office came to this hotel at what time, and civil servant B who works for the same government office came to the same hotel from another point. By analyzing such information, you can see that civil servants from specific departments are gathering at the hotel on the same day. From the perspective of the Communist Party, it is not desirable for private companies to have personal information. There is a possibility that the information will be taken to the United States. In the worst case, private companies may cooperate with the United States. Basically, the Communist Party wants to control all information. You don't want America or any other country to take over your big data. It can be understood that the Xi Jinping administration wants to regulate the collection of big data by all organizations other than the Communist Party. Just because the Communist Party manages it doesn't mean that information won't leak, But if private companies have big data, it will be difficult for the Communist Party to manage. Moreover, Chinese IT companies are violating the vested interests of the Communist Party. For example, ride-hailing services threaten the vested interests of taxi companies. The taxi industry is a world that requires licenses and licenses, so it is one of the interests of the Communist Party. Online payment services pose a threat to the credit card industry. Chinese credit cards are the concession of megabanks. Since megabanks are state-owned enterprises in China, they are vested interests of the Communist Party. China's IT business is destroying the interests of the Communist Party. From Xi Jinping's point of view, it is an unfavorable existence. From Xi Jinping's point of view, there are many motives for putting pressure on IT companies, so the Communist government's act of crushing its own companies by putting pressure on Chinese companies seems to be an abnormal action, but it is a natural act for the Communist Party. Xi Jinping wants to keep China's big data under control while protecting the Communist Party's interests. Immediately after DiDi's listing on the New York market, there was intense pressure. As of November 2021, the Chinese authorities have instructed DiDi to come up with a delisting plan. The center of DiDi's business is China, so as long as we do business in China, we can't do business against the Communist Party, so we were delisted. DiDi was listed in New York in June 2021, but withdrew from New York in about a year. If DiDi were listed in New York and there were no problems, the SoftBank Group would have made huge profits. However, withdrawing from New York, the SoftBank Group must have gone off course. And in July 2022, DiDi was again in the spotlight. I received a fine of about 160 billion yen in Japanese yen. This amount is a big amount for DiDi, but it seems that some people were in a position to take this news positively. It means that the Communist Party's investigation is over by receiving a fine, so DiDi can resume business activities. There were people who took it positively because it was expected that DiDi would increase profits as it normalized. However, as I introduced at the beginning, DiDi has accumulated a huge deficit. Unless it raises new funds, it will become a constant group in the IT industry. In China today, there are many IT companies with the same business model as DiDi. While the communist regime was tightening its grip, many rival companies had emerged and the competition was intensifying. Even if you start the business again in such a state, you will not be able to make a profit like before. As I have introduced on this channel before, China's ride-hailing service has become saturated and it is necessary to curb new entry. Food delivery is also saturated. In other words, it is no longer a situation where DiDi can win alone. It is highly likely that it is now irreversible. So the latest information about the heavily censored DiDi is true. The reason why the Chinese authorities are trying to suppress information about DiDi is that they don't want to send out any more negative impressions to the rest of the world because the Chinese economy is in a very slump. Just recently, the July trade numbers came out, and they were getting worse, with less exports from China. China's domestic economy is very sluggish, and the only solution is to bring foreign currency into China. Japanese and American companies have invested in DiDi this time. The Communist Party is afraid. Therefore, it is believed that the Communist Party government hastily hid information on the cumulative deficit of DiDi. That's all for now. See you next time.